Hello everyone, and welcome to this second episode of our European People's Podcast series dedicated to the members of the EPP Presidency. And today we're very happy to have with us Siegfried Mureșan, who is a member of our Romanian member party PNL and is Vice President of the EPP, but also of the EPP group in the European Parliament. So thank you very much, Siegfried.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Sarah. It's nice to be with you.
Happy New Year, of course. Maybe before starting the interview, would you like to say a couple of words about President Sosoli, since you were in European Parliament? I guess you felt it quite strongly.
Yes, of course. Unfortunately, at the beginning of this year, the President of the European Parliament, our President, our colleague, David Sosoli, he passed away. And I had the chance to work with David Sosoli when we worked on the budget of the European Union for the next 7 years, and also on the EU financial response following COVID, when we decided to create the biggest package of economic support that was ever created at the European Union level, 750 billion euros. And I saw David Sosoli as a committed European, as a hard-working president. We used to meet every week on these two files because he understood this is important. It is about the future of Europe, and financing is something tangible that is important for the people and that produces results. It is about the funding for the farmers, for the Erasmus scholarships, for infrastructure in Europe, for helping those who are affected by the virus. And I always felt that he cared about it. He was hardworking. He was really helping us, the members who were working on these files, conclude them in a good manner. He was a very kind man, and he was very committed to promoting democracy. His death is a big loss for us, members of the Parliament, but for Europe as a whole, because he was really fighting for strong institutions and for institutions who serve the people. Of course, all of our thoughts are with his family, with his close ones, with the people in Italy.
Yeah, a true European loved also behind any political borders. But okay, let's pass to our interview. We're speaking about the EPP presidency. So tell me a bit of your role in the presidency and what this mandate, this function entails.
Look, as everyone knows, we, the European People's Party, are the biggest political family at European level. We are the political family which gathers center-right, pro-European parties, and we are being led by a president who is Donald Tusk, the former Prime Minister of Poland and President of the European Council. We have a Secretary General, and we have 10 vice presidents. 10 vice presidents who come from different countries in Europe, from large and small countries, from north, from south, from east, from west. And what is special about each of us is that we bring a different background, different expertise. I'm working more in the area of economy and budget. Other colleagues have experience in the area of agriculture, environment, foreign policy, and so on. So we bring different expertise. We bring also different cultural, geographical backgrounds, different national sensitivities. But when we are in the presidency of Europe's largest political family, we know that we have to make decisions which are good for the whole of Europe. So we have to bring in our perspective, but in the end, the spirit in the presidency of the EPP has always been a collegial one, a spirit in which we are making decisions that we are all convinced of are the right decisions and which are good for Europe as a whole. So we see ourselves together in this and looking for best decisions. Nevertheless, of course, you need a certain specialization. And I'm responsible for the economy. In the EPP, we have certain working groups which deal with topics which are very important also to the people. And one of these working groups is the working group on economy. It is a working group that I am responsible for together with the Bulgarian Vice President, who is Maria Gabriel, who is a European Commissioner. And this working group is important because here we are defining the positions of the European People's Party in the area of economy. And we are the political family who wants a strong economy, a modern and future-oriented economy, a green and clean economy, but an economy which supports small and medium-sized enterprises, the industry, the private sector, an economy which is modern and digital, and an economy which is based on respecting the rules. We are the political family which respects the rules. We are the political family which knows that you cannot spend more than you have, because it's exactly as it is at the level of a family, you know. You can spend in 1 month more than you earn, but then you accumulate a debt, and you cannot spend every month more than you earn, and the same is valid at European level. So we are the political family which is responsible, which, as we manage the economy, do not want more debt to accumulate, because that will only be a burden for the young people, for the young generation, and that is just irresponsible politics. Sometimes we see that with populists or with the left, that they promise to the people everything right now, more than we have, but that just means accumulating debt, which the young people will have to follow to pay back in the future. And with EPP we say we should not burden young people, not accumulate too much debt, be very responsible, and have an economy which serves the people. And this is what I'm a bit responsible for here in the presidency of the EPP, the economy.
By the way, more on that, you had a recent interview with my colleague Jules in another format, EPP for Me Talks. So for our audience, they can also go back to this to know more about European
Yes, with
economy.
Jules we spoke before Christmas specifically about what Europe did to help people after the COVID crisis, because we created the biggest package of economic support ever created at European level, 750 billion euros, to help people affected by the virus, enterprises, regions, to come easier through the crisis, to help them cope with the consequences of the crisis, but also to make sure that we modernize our economy, our public institutions, our public systems, our hospitals, in a way in which we would not be affected by a similar crisis in the future as strong as we were now. And we were discussing this with Gilles in the recent interview.
Thank you. So you've seen the EPP from all angles, because you were a political advisor here, then you became senior political advisor, then you were elected to the European Parliament, but you were also spokesman of the EPP, and now you are vice president of both the party and the group. So you know the EPP very well. What do you think sets the EPP apart from the other European political parties?
Look, I think we are the political family who tries to understand the difficulties that people are facing, and we try to solve these difficulties and these problems, and we are the political family which is honest to the people. Other political families sometimes tell to the people things that people want to hear, but which do not necessarily work in reality. Always when we propose a solution, we make sure that it works and that it is realistic. And we always see, you know, the two sides of the coin, because reality is sometimes not only black and white, it is complex. And we always try to look at all arguments, make the best decision. We do not sell magic to the people just to tell them afterwards, well, it didn't work, you know, and so on. We are honest, we are open, and we're trying to really solve the problems of the people, while populists very often they play with the fears of the people. They misuse the people. When they understand that people are in difficulty, they play with these fears. They try to politically maximize the benefits. The left is sometimes also a bit irresponsible in the sense that they do not tell to the people honestly the negative consequences of their decisions, or they promise more than what they can offer. I would like people to earn as much as possible, to have bigger salaries and bigger pensions. But for that to be possible, we have to make sure that our economy produces more. We have to strengthen the economy. We have to make sure that it is modern, competitive. And we have to make sure that our goods are demanded on the global markets. If, you know, our economy is strong, as the EPP wants, because we have the expertise on the economy, then we can pay high salaries, then the budgets are okay, we can pay pensions, we can pay social benefits. For us, it is about enlarging, you know, the pie, because like that, the slice for everyone is bigger. For the socialists, it is only about, you know, how to grab a bigger piece but they have no recipe of enabling the well-being of all categories of the people at the end of the day.
You were speaking about the playing with fears, and it's something that we see a lot now with the pandemic. And your country is one of those where maybe these fears are better played with, because it's, if I'm not mistaken, after Bulgaria, it's the country with the lowest vaccination rate in the EU. How do you explain this?
Yes, so we, Romania, we never had a Eurosceptic, extreme right, nationalistic, populistic party in parliament in the last decades, but we have it now since the election which took place at the end of 2020. At the end of 2020, when we were in the first year of the pandemic, an irresponsible party which was populistic went to the streets and told the people, well, we're not sure the virus exists, for sure it is not too dangerous. The government, which was an EPP responsible government who was telling people to avoid social contact, to social distance, to respect the rules, to wear the masks, the populists were saying, hey, the government is too tough on you. They were very populistic. They made it into the parliament 8%. And now they are making anti-vaccination campaigns. They are irresponsible, and basically they're playing with the health, and here with also with the lives of some of the people. And they are very active in the public space, and this is why some people in our country, they were not ready to get vaccinated. We have about 50% of the population double vaccinated. Some people already took their third shot. I immediately, when the vaccine was available for my age category, I took all of the doses, the first, the second one, and then also the booster shot, the third shot. So we have a bit this populism, which plays a role, and also a bit the lack of trust of the people in the institutions. I believe we have to let experts speak more, politicians encourage people to vaccinate, but not dominate the debate. It has to be the experts, it has to be the credible medical personnel, doctors, who bring all of the arguments forward, because honestly, all of the arguments are in favor of the vaccination. And if you get COVID, there can be long-lasting effects. If you get vaccinated, there is no proof of long-lasting negative effects so far. If you get vaccinated, yes, maybe you can get COVID, but for sure you do not have a severe form, and you're much more protected against a severe form or against death. And these facts, we have to be more eloquent in bringing to the people. But in general, unfortunately, it is Central Eastern Europe where the mistrust is a bit bigger, also because the propaganda, the different influences, including from the Russian Federation, they are more present in the public space.
So speaking about Eastern Europe, as a Romanian, you have particular relation to your neighboring country of Moldova. Well, more than most Romanian, because you chair the European Parliament's delegation to the EU Moldova Parliamentary Committee, and you follow very closely the President Sandu's difficult path to secure a European future to her country. What do you think are the main difficulties that still remain on her path?
Look, the Republic of Moldova is a small country, but it is a neighbor of the European Union. It is one of our neighbor countries in the east of the European Union. It is about 4 million people, and it is very important to the European Union because we can only live in safety and stability within the borders of the European Union if we are surrounded by safe and stable and peaceful countries. We are now seeing that the developments in Ukraine concern all of us, also within the EU, because we know that in order for us to live in safety and stability within the borders of the EU, our neighboring countries need to be safe as well, because if there's war in Ukraine, we will not feel safe in Europe. The same applies to Moldova. So it's a neighboring country. This is why we should care, and this is why investing in neighboring countries, in the eastern neighborhood, in the southern neighborhood, it means investing also in our own security. So what happens there is important to us. And the good news is that developments in the Republic of Moldova, this small country, were very good in the last 2 years. We had in the past, we had there a pro-Russian, pro-Kremlin president. And we had in the presidential elections of 2020, running against the pro-Russian incumbent president, we had Maia Sandu, who was a pro-European candidate committed to and respecting European rules, European values, an EPP candidate, president of an EPP member country, who ran in a presidential election and won a presidential election as a pro-European candidate against a pro-Russian and pro-Kremlin candidate. She became president of the country. She managed to trigger early elections, and there is now a solid parliamentary majority which is pro-European. So the country is governed now by politicians which are pro-European, who are committed to the values of the European Union and the values of the EPP as well. So this is good news, that there is a political will and that there is big popular support for this as well, because they were voted both in presidential and in parliamentary elections in a very democratic, legitimate and transparent way. But with victories comes also responsibility. So what they have to do now is reform the judiciary, because in the past the connections between politics, business people, media, judiciary were all, not clear, not transparent. So now she needs to work on separation of powers, reform the judiciary, strengthen the economy, improve the quality of public services, education, health, public administration, improve the infrastructure so that more investors are coming, because unfortunately the Republic of Moldova is a country from which many young people, and well-qualified people have left and are now working in the European Union. This is good for us in the EU, but it is bad for the country. So the to-do list for her is big, the will is there, but also our readiness as European Union to help is big, because we trust in the pro-European politicians who are now leading the Republic of Moldova. So our readiness to help is big, because we feel that, help there will be well used, and because we also understand that helping a neighboring country also is in our own benefit.
And the EPP has always been a strong supporter of Moldova.
The EPP has always been, a strong supporter of the countries in our neighborhood always. We are the party who understands that the Western Balkans belong to the European Union, and we are the party who accompanies countries in the Western Balkans on their path towards the European Union, to reform, to modernize, to improve the quality of the public services for the people. So the EPP has always been strong in the Western Balkans, in the Eastern neighborhood, and also in the southern neighborhood of the Union.
Okay, let's conclude with a couple of lighter questions, maybe. Between all your professional commitment, you have so many mandates, different mandates. How do you find time for yourself, and what do you do in your free time?
The lighter questions are always the most difficult ones, The truth is that, you are elected to the European Parliament for 5 years. And the truth is that you never have time really to relax, because I see those colleagues who relax, the first 2-3 years of their mandate, they get to regret it towards the end of the mandate. It's like a student. When the semester starts, if you don't learn in the first weeks, you accumulate too much stuff to learn before the exams. You might pass the exam, but for sure not with the best grades. It's the same also in Parliament. You have to work the whole mandate if you want to be successful and if you want to keep the trust of the people. So basically, there's no time to really relax. And as you know, 1 week per month, we are going to Strasbourg for the plenary session of the Parliament. The other weeks, we are in Brussels, and the weekends in between, we are traveling to our countries and we are being there for the people. I'm from Romania, which is a relatively large country. And I happen to be invited to many events all over the country. So very often weekends I spend traveling through my home country. Admittedly, a bit less during the pandemic now, because of course we as politicians, we have to be models as well and avoid many personal contacts and avoid crowded rooms. So now if I travel, I rather attend smaller events with less people, which means that in order to see people, you need to make more efforts. But now we are avoiding large events because of COVID, because we shouldn't expose ourselves or expose other people as well. So now weekends are also about traveling, but for smaller gatherings. But so what I'm trying to say is that for me, the private life and the political life and the professional life, they are somehow interlinked. And politics, and especially being a member of the European Parliament, is not a job from 9 to 5 and then you say, I go home and it's over. Many weekends you're on the roads. It also means that you need to sacrifice sometimes time from your family and from the days that normally other people would have days off. So, but this is why, in order for you to be able to do it well, you have to like it. Because, as I said, we do not work only 40 hours per week. We work more, I work more. And very often, the public responsibilities, the responsibilities in parliament, in your constituency, back home, and your private life, they are somehow interlinked. But when I'm doing none of this, I like to be outside. I like to be in the fresh air. I like to do sports. I like to go biking, sometimes also here in Belgium when I have time, outside of Brussels. There are many nice biking routes in Belgium. Belgium is known, it is famous for this. In Romania, I like walking. We have very nice mountains. So especially now in the pandemic, when much of the work was in front of a computer, when it was in, alone or with smaller groups, I'm trying to use the spare time for being outside and for moving and for staying healthy and staying in good shape.
And let's conclude it the same way we concluded the previous episode, with a bit of touristic advice. You already said that you like to walk on the mountains in Romania. Surely it's better to be outside in Romania than in Brussels. There's more nature. But what other advice would you give? I don't know, places to visit, things to do?
Look, Romania is a very diverse country. It is a very diverse country, and I would always recommend, the more remote places, the rural areas, because there you can really find people, in agriculture, in villages, who work and who live in a way in which we do not live in Western Europe. So in Western Europe, also the villages are very urban, while in Romania, the villages still are very rural, in a very nice sense. There is many, smaller hotels, motels in rural areas, especially in Transylvania, with lots of older churches, museums, specificities. You can have, you can taste many gastronomic specialities. You can interact with a very mixed culture. In Transylvania, we have a significant Hungarian minority. We have a German minority, which culturally, historically was very strong. In the southern part of Romania, we have other minorities. Bulgarian, Serbian, Turkish, Greek minorities, so we are very diverse. And Romania is in that sense also an example of, a peaceful and harmonious living together of minorities. So you can experience many local traditions. I would recommend always rural areas. I would, of course, recommend the mountains, the Carpathian Mountains, not only because of Dracula Castle, but, because of the beautiful nature. The Danube Delta is very nice. Our capital city, Bucharest, has a lot to offer in cultural terms as well, but it is a crowded place, you will like it, young or old. You will always find something interesting to do in Bucharest or in other larger cities, but the special places are rather outside in rural areas.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a big fan of Romania, especially Bukovina. I think they're amazing churches.
Exactly. So Bukovina is the northeastern part where you can see many historic monasteries, where you can also experience many gastronomic specialities, many older, like castles and fortresses especially. Very nice.
Okay. Thank you very much, Siegfried, for taking the time to answer our question. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you, my pleasure. And to all of us, have a good year and stay healthy.
Yeah. And to our listener, thank you for joining us for today's episode of the European People's Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe so as not to miss up or catch up with other episodes that you might have missed previously. And see you soon.